Hey there. I just want to share with you the most incredible, what is it? What do you call it when things come together? Convergence or whatever that just happened. So I'm sitting here with Rudy, and we're reading through the poems of Dr. Johnson, and I encountered basically a poem without a name that I was just flabbergasted. I was stunned by. But it gets better than being a good poem, and I'm going to read it to you, and it's not very long. A lot of Dr. Johnson's poems are very short. So it's right here. I have to be very careful with this old book. Here it is. This is called, what is it called? Evening, which is really nice. And then there's To Stella. Stella is a literary reference to, kind of like an idealized bride, idealized partner in life, a female partner in life. So he uses the term Stella a lot in his poetry to refer to that idealized, female, like there'd be an idealized, man and an idealized woman. And then down here, from the, 18th century perspective, of course. And then down here, there's To the Same. So it doesn't even really have a name, but I was so enraptured of it. And I was listening to music softly while I was while I was reading. And this is what I read, and this is then what I heard, I'll tell you. So he's talking about a woman, Stella. To the Same. Whether Stella's eyes are found fixed on earth or glancing round, if her face with pleasure glow, if she sigh at others' woe, if her easy air express conscious worth or self-distress, Stella's eyes and air and face charmed with undiminished grace. So whatever she's doing, looking around or looking down or expressing her easy nature, or self-conscious, having a moment of self-consciousness, she's nevertheless everything about her eyes, the air, her ambience, her, what would you call it, the mien, I think it is, and her face are charmed with an undiminished grace. So I can just picture now. I know that Johnson had wrote poems to Boswell's small children, especially one of his daughters did nice things. He called her Little Miss, and she would make gifts for him when he came to visit and give it to him, and he would write a poem in return, to kind of like as an exchange for the gift. So maybe he kind of has those young, and when he would write letters to Boswell, he would always ask after the well-being of Boswell's wife. Who Johnson referred to as his little enemy, because when the one time that Johnson came to stay with the Boswells, she was so put off by Johnson's appearance and behavior. He was a very rough, and even though he was brilliant author, he had poor table manners and even worse personal habits. His hygiene was questionable, etc. So she was glad when he left, and he picked up on that, and he spent the rest of his adult life in the relationship, the 20 years plus, trying to endear himself back to him as Mrs. Boswell. And then, of course, he was always asking about the kids. So I wonder when he's writing this if he's thinking of the little miss, maybe, of Boswell's youngest daughter. If on her we see displayed pendant gems and rich brocade, if her chintz with less expense flows in easy negligence, still she lights the conscious flame, still her charms appear the same. If she strikes the vocal strings, if she silent speaks or sings. Let me stop for just a second at that part up there. Okay, so even if she's wearing some jewelry, some adornment, right? Or if it's whatever the quality of it, still her charms appear the same. Still she lights the conscious flame. Still, there's something about her that is beautiful and endearing. However she's her manner, however she behaves, whatever she's wearing. He's referring then to some inner light that's shining through this young woman, right? This Stella. If she strikes the vocal strings, if she speaks. If she's silent, speaks, or sings. If she sit or if she move, still we love and still approve. Now he's going to contrast that with those who might not have such a noble inner nature. Vain the casual, transient glance, which alone can please by chance. Beauty which depends on art, clinging with the changing heart, which demands the toilet's aid. He's talking now about a woman who might have to rely on her wit. She might not have that inner light. She has to rely on her wit, her chance, or even the application of makeup and etc. to augment a beauty which may not shine from within. Clinging with the changing heart which demands the toilet's aid, pendant gems and rich brocade. Now Johnson's going to say, never mind that. I, Johnson, those charms alone can prize, which form constant nature rise, which form constant nature arise. Let me say that again. I, those charms alone can prize, which form constant nature rise. So I prize the charms which a constant inner light, an inner nature, inner goodness rise and are shining through, which not circumstance nor dress e'er can make, or more or less. So Johnson revealing his love of virtue, his love of that inner light that shines from all of us, the inner light that he strove for in his own life. Now, I'm going to add to this the circumstance that happened while I was reading. I was sitting here reading Rudy in my lap, reading this, just being spellbound by it, and realizing that in the background I was listening to Elton John's Tiny Dancer, which was just the perfect, overlay to this, right? I mean, I've always pictured that in that song, especially as they say, hold me closer, tiny dancer, count the headlights on the highway. I always picture that man and that woman in an embrace, kind of, them against the world, in maybe a motel room as they're traveling, because she married a music man, right? Some strange town, some strange place, but they have each other. She has that pirate smile, that inner light, right, shining through. And it's Elton John describing the same character from, 200 years at that time when Elton John wrote Tiny Dancer, 200 years before Dr. Samuel Johnson described what I imagine is Little Miss through these, not even a poem without a name, simply called To the Same. Brilliant, beautiful. Just can't get enough. Thanks for joining me.